Good morning. Today's discussion is all about language development theories. At the end of this session, you can expect to learn the basic language development, the trends in language development, bilingualism, and second language acquisition. When we say human language, it includes any spoken, written, or systems of symbols in which we people use to communicate with each other. It enables us to know what others know and feel, describe past events, refer to the future, and even pass down information from generation to generation. So the question here is, how does language develop? Imagine what it's like for an infant to know so very little of what's going on around him. The trouble is you can get too far with just miming and pointing. What you really want is an accurate way of expressing your desires, exactly what you feel, what you really want, and what you want for your parents to get for you. What you need, of course, are words. Researchers propose several theories on how language develops. For example, is the behaviorist theory, in which Skinner suggested that the emergence of language is the result of imitation and reinforcement. However, this reinforcement has not been widely accepted at any time. Another one is the interactionist perspective. In here, children learn language through interaction and communicative context. The focus here is the caregiver's attention and attentiveness that they give to their children to produce a productive language. Well, you see, children have remarkably natural ability to learn language. However, they do not absorb language as the way it is spoken to them, but rather construct their own understanding of the language. That is why experts proposes that humans possess an inborn linguistic processor known as the language acquisition device, or the language making capacity. Many theories propose that humans are predispositioned to have learned language, and that's what they call as language instinct. However, evidence shows that tells us that first language are best learned by children within the first to 10 years of their life, which is a sensitive part for language development. Now let's go on to the phases of early acquisition of language in which children pass through within the span of 2 years. So first is the babbling. Babbling occurs when a baby is in 3 to 6 months. In here, the baby starts to string sounds and relate it to their environment, as well as incorporate different tones of speech and say like ah, eh, ooh, and then later add it with a consonant and says baba, dada, mama, without really understanding what it really means. And then the next one is one word. In one word, it occurs during 10 to 13 months. And in here, the baby or the child starts to utter single words, and like especially those that relates to the animals like cat, dog, mouse, fish, bird, and as well as body parts like eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and so on and so forth. The next one is two-word. In two-word, the child now starts to combine a noun and a verb to create simple sentences and convey some meaning. Like for example, baby, crying, daddy, run, or me, hungry, or like that. Now let's go on to the semantic, the trends of language development. So the first one is semantic development. So the knowledge of the meaning of the word is called semantic, and semantic can only be developed by or through with the support of the environment like the parents, teachers, SOs, and so on and so forth. So if your child is looking at a certain thing or holds at a thing, like for example this one, he holds at this or points at this one, it is his way of telling, what do you call this, mom? Like for example, so you should correctly answer the child with its correct name or correct title of that thing. Like for example, this one is a stuffed toy, honey. This is a ball. This is a pillow. Well, this is a broom. So, it's like that. Well, as a child learns the semantics, they are also more likely to commit errors, two errors. The first one is the undergeneralization. So it happens, for example, when a child thinks of an animal, he only thinks of the mammals and the fish, the mammals only. The fishes, the insects, the birds are not part of the animals because he was thinking that the animals are only the mammals. So that's undergeneralization. The next one is overgeneralization. Overgeneralization occurs when, like for example, you add s for a word to make it plural. Like for example, this is hand, hands, foot, and when he says foot, that's overgeneralization because he says foot instead of feet. So that's semantic development. The next one is syntax development. In here, he combines morphemes to create an idea. So when he says more crackers, it is he uses the syntactic rule of combining morphemes to convey a message or a meaning. So, and also in syntax, later he will be able to increase the when the child grows or the child grows older, the syntactic rule is also increasingly developed. And so later part, he can now ask questions and make statements and so on and so forth. The next one is listening comprehension. Listening comprehension, the student's ability to comprehend messages actually depends on the context in which it is given. So sometimes children take the messages literally, failing to understand the metaphors and analogies. However, over time, children would start looking beyond the literal meaning of the words. And then, lastly, is the oral communication. Well, to communicate effectively, we need to learn the correct pronunciation of the words. Sometimes in preschool and elementary years, we can observe children who have difficulty in pronouncing sounds like S, S, R, or Z. However, this can actually, typically this will disappear at the age of 8 to 9 years old. Have you ever encountered a person or a child who interrupts your conversation between other people and then abruptly changes the topic? Well, it is surely not nice, and so he must learn. It is important to learn the pragmatic rule. It is our ability to appropriately to speak appropriately in different situations. So, for example, we can speak conversationally at home, informal. Well, when you are talking to your teacher, you must speak in a formal way. And then, now let's go to bilingualism, the last one of this topic for this session. Bilingualism, well, although there are several theories or several experts believe that there is a sensitive period for language development, experts believe that there is no sensitive period for second language development or for acquiring second language. So they believe that the earlier the child learns the second language, the more he can master it, the more he can master the pronunciation, the grammatical context of it, and everything of it. As well as this is very beneficial because when a child simultaneously learn two different languages, it actually, generally, it results to high proficiency for both classroom language and home language. And so, bilingualism has also a benefit because um, uh, we have this so-called additive bilingualism in which we add the second language from the first language which is already developed and established. And having additive bilingualism, it can actually enhance self-esteem and motivation to learn. In conclusion, the role of the parents, significant others, caregivers, and teachers are very important in language development of the children. It is also very important to have a face-to-face or one-on-one conversation with your child. And you can also try telling stories, reading books and poems, and singing a song to your child to enhance language development. Being bilingual has a lot of beneficial effects and grows many parts of your brain at a young age. Aside from that, speaking other languages is very great because you can make more friends, which is always good. Thank you very much for listening this session.